you doing today, Nayla?
A little bit nervous. This is my first speaker event, so
I mean,
but you guys look like a friendly bunch, so it's all
You're
good.
amongst friends, so it's fine. Well, you're working at one of the biggest banks in Australia, going through an amazing digital transformation project. Just to get us started, though, it'd be great to understand a little bit more about your role at the bank, how long you've been at the bank, and then share with us a little bit about what your team's up to.
Sure. So I've been at the bank for about 17 years. Graduated as a software engineer and came into the bank, and over the last 17 years had about 11 different roles across business and technology. So it's been a lot of various different roles. Similar to what Ian said a little bit earlier, a lot of learning, a lot of opportunities. It's a great place to work. And I'm currently part of the customer self-service tribe. We belong as part of the digital portfolio in Australian retail. Australia retail and commercial banking domain, and we predominantly look after our internet banking platform. It's a massive platform. We have about 2.5 million customers, and we process over $1.3 billion worth of transaction daily, so it's a pretty large branch for us.
That's a big thing. I imagine if it goes down, people are not very happy.
Yeah, we hear about it pretty quickly, so...
Can you share with us a little bit more about, you talked about tribes. I mean, some people here might know about tribes, but can you share a little bit about your new ways of working that we talked about and how tribes fall into that and also your squads?
Yeah, sure. So as part of agile transformation, new ways of working, we were really all formed into what we call tribes, which are really made up of teams or small squads, and particular tribes have a particular mission to try to attain. So, and tribes typically range in numbers between 50 people to some of our larger tribes that have 300 to 400 people. And so our digital portfolio's got a large number of tribes, and basically each of those tribes has a particular mission. So our customer self-service tribe, for example, our mission is to provide great experiences for our customers and bankers to DIY and essentially self-serve. So, and it really helps our squads focus in what they're trying to do and why they come to work every day.
Yeah, and so that actually leads into the next question, which is, this landscape in Australia, the financial services industry is changing dramatically. Like, entrants like Afterpay coming in, things like that. But you guys are staying in front of everything. So can you share how things have changed in the last 2 to 3 years, and how your ways of working and some challenges that you've seen, and then what activities you see on a daily basis you guys are changing to?
Oh, look, the changes in our customer self-service tribe have been immense, actually. So 2 to 3 years ago, our internet banking platform was managed fully by a vendor. It was a black box. You'd write requirements documents, you'd flick it over the fence. And a number of months later, you'd get some code that you do UAT and get into production, right? And so with this agile transformation and with the forming of cross-functional squads that are pretty much made up of both ANZ and vendor staff, it really has increased the transparency. It's opened up and demystified delivery in a sense, and so we've got a lot more transparency around how we deliver and what we deliver, the tools we use, and we're actively working on an engineering culture, right, and really trying to uplift our engineering culture in-house.
And you shared with me when we talked earlier about it's gone from more of a vendor kind of customer relationship to more of a partnership.
Absolutely. So it's definitely a collaborative relationship at the moment, yeah.
So the next question I want to dig into is, you're kind of on the forefront of a global transformation within the bank, and there's all these terms we've heard about, next generation payment platforms and open banking and things like that. Your division within the bank is really contributing to those initiatives. Can you share a little bit about what you're doing for the rest of the bank, that they can consume what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for example, you've mentioned open banking. We've already provided a couple of services out to open banking industry testing. In internet banking, we're actually doing a couple of really big things. The first thing that we're doing is actually upgrading underlying platform. So we're going through an application upgrade. And the second thing that we're actually doing is we are transforming architecture and transitioning from a monolith application into becoming a headless services platform that can build and expose services to other channels within the bank and to people like open banking who need services.
Well, it's great for your customers as well,
Absolutely,
like me.
absolutely.
I've been a customer of the ANZ Bank now for as long as I've been in Australia, 17 years.
Wow.
It's great to see the changes happening, and we're really excited. How does that give you a competitive advantage in the market, do you think?
Well, look, by moving into a headless services platform, it actually increases our agility and it actually reduces bottlenecks. So we actually build and expose services once, and it can be used by multiple channels across the bank, and which really leads to a better customer outcome, really. So it's just, rather than different divisions of the bank building the same thing in slightly different ways, we start to get autonomy.
Yeah, well, and going from that, one of the things we talked about is, you mentioned the importance of that whole digital engagement. Can you talk about how you measure success within your tribe and in the bank?
Yeah. Look, one of the most important measures of success for us is customers, right?
Yeah.
Customer feedback. And we measure Net Promoter Score. We've actually got a dashboard up in our team that's going all the time with a live NPS score and getting live feeds of customer data and what they want. And we take that really quite seriously. We've got a Slack channel with a ANZ social media feed of what our customers are actually telling us. So for us, our NPS score is the biggest indicator of how successful or unsuccessful we are. And typically we find when there are, unfortunately, outages, our NPS score goes down. And when we've got stable platforms and we're providing some features to our customers, it goes up. So there's a direct correlation between stability of the platform and allowing people to have access to the money, make payments and pay their bills, etc., with a higher NPS score.
So it really is that you're not just working on the technology, you're actually really impacting the customer.
Absolutely.
And you take that into every account. That's quite cool to be able to see at a big major bank.
Yeah.
You guys are focusing that heavily on that.
Absolutely.
And that's the number one metric.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit more about within your team, what's important to your team, and then share with us a little bit about your journey with New Relic and how that impacts your Net Promoter Score and the way that you actually have been able to focus on the customer.
Sure. So like I said, we measure NPS, and NPS is directly related to platform stability. And so for us to be able to manage and run our systems and be on top of our systems to provide customers what they expect, we need to really understand about what's happening in our production system. And this is where alerting and monitoring is one of our number one technology priorities. We're investing quite heavily in that. And our landscape is really quite complex. So we're consistently working on infrastructure monitoring, on application monitoring, synthetics, on some of the more important customer flows. So we can actually dig in and understand what's actually happening and know when things are about to go wrong before our customers do. And, the more we dig deeper, the more we actually realise we need to know. So it's a long journey for us, and there's a lot of work to do in that space.
Yeah, it's always nice when you stay in front of that Twitter feed that's not showing you, and you know before your customers do.
Absolutely.
I'm interested a little bit with the regulatory environment that's going on right now in the banking space, and new entrants coming into the market. Can you share a little bit how your teams are working differently or continuing to improve to be able to give amazing digital experiences to your customers in the face of competition?
Yeah, our industry's changed a lot, and there's definitely new entrants. And, I'll put a customer hat on. New entrants is really exciting, right? Because new entrants bring competition to the market, and it actually forces the bigger institutions, like us banks, to actually lift up our game and stay competitive. And in fact, I think it's what's happened out in the market was actually one of the main drivers of our agile transformation and new ways of working, and recognising that we need to actually deliver faster and better features to our customers to keep the advantage.
Yep, absolutely. So what's next for the bank? Like, what's going on in the future? We talked about this. There's all kinds of great technologies and things, but share with us a little bit about what's next.
Look, I can definitely talk about what's happening in the banking. We've got a huge agenda. There's 2 to 3 years worth of work around replatforming and changing our architecture. So, from our perspective, some of the stuff on our technology roadmap is really around how we move our CI pipeline into the cloud and containerizing our platform to just increase our delivery speed to deliver new functions to customers. So that's definitely what's on the horizon for us.
So you have 2 to 3 years with a pipeline to actually go. So don't even worry about the new technology. Let's just use and lots of jobs to be done, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anyone in tech, we're replatforming, right? We're replatforming one of the major platforms and the cornerstones of our bank. So we take that extremely seriously, and we need to do it in a way where we're not impacting customers. And so, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and thank you for that. So do you want to share anything else with the audience about your journey within the bank and moving from squads to tribes and new ways of working? Is the technology the challenge in your business or the people?
Oh, look, it's definitely been the people, right? So, new ways of working has been about, for a lot of the people in the bank, about unlearning some of the old behaviours. It's about learning new ways of doing things. It's about increased collaboration. It's really interesting. I went to visit some of our teams in India earlier in the year and spoke to some of the engineers. And the squads love it, right? Because, in the old ways of doing things, the engineers would be sitting there and would have no visibility to what the business wanted. And now they're working in small squads where they've got a product owner that's talking to them about some of the features that they're building on a daily basis. And so it's been great. It's, the culture on the ground has been really quite amazing to see. And we've still got a long way to go, but we're definitely moving on the right path.
Well, thank you for taking the opportunity to share with us today your story, your journey.
Thank you for having me.
You did a great job on stage.
Thank
For
you.
the first time, I think we'll have you back.
Thank you very much.
Nayla, thank you very much for the
Cheers.
time.
Thank you, Greg. Cheers.